I am Michael Perry, and I am pleased to be joined by International Master Nubair. So thank you for joining me, Nubair.
Thank you, Michael. Hello, everyone, guys.
We have some announcements today. First of all, just an update on the streaming schedule. Next week, the 10th, we will have National Master OK announcing with Chris, and the same for the following week. And then on the 24th, we will have National Master Frankie Johnson with myself, and the same for the following week. So we're pleased that we can have some of those guys announcing. Other announcements, we have some exciting news. We have a GM camp on August 22nd of GM Robbie Kevashvili. So on Friday, August 22nd, there'll be a training camp from 5 to 8 p.m. and a tandem simul from 8 to 10 p.m. The simul will feature GM Kevashvili, of course, and National Master OK. As you can see on the flyer, Robbie, he's 2550 feet AGM, over 2600 USCF. So you can see the rest of the details there, but definitely make sure to check that out and attend this training camp by a Grandmaster. Next announcement, we have our player of the week is Andres Hortolosa. He has a peak rating of 2101. His best wins include Sai Dasari, who was a 2350, Frankie Johnson, who will be commentating later this month, and he also beat him 2 times, which is very impressive. Mehmed Pasalak, Michael Mollier, Nels Trulson, Troy Kavanaugh, OK, Jackson Wall, Samrug, who's the current state champion, and Nate Hoover. So definitely an experienced player tonight. I personally played Hortolosa a few times myself, and he's very tricky. So very tough player. And yeah, I think he already played tonight, so we can probably dive into his game.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Lots of wins against high-rated players, about 2300s. And so now let's proceed towards the games of round one. We have got uh, Trophy playing against Hoover Nathan here. The position looks a bit complex, so let's see how we get here. It started with f4, e5, fe5, d6. Okay. And a typical pawn sacrifice in this particular line, and here probably the g3 and h4 is the only way to survive. Played in the game. Otherwise, just h5, h4 comes in. Right, e7, d4. And now this is threatened. Queen to d3, defends the pawn. Knight c6, again knight d4. Defends it. Bishop f5, probably e4. Bishop g2 is the idea. So bishop e3. So now the question is, can he take here? Probably not. Just takes, and there's a knight d2, f5, bishop c6, rook e3, and king f2. So probably this is not working. But there might be rook h2, bishop g3 at some point, but then f5 would be hanging at the end of the day. So he goes back. So d5, we have got knight e5, or just move the bishop. He defends the g3 weakness. f5, knight g2, takes. Okay, so this is okay. So queen e4 because it's a pin, and now white is making use of the bishop being here. Castles. So far, I think very nice game by white, by Toffee. But now again, this weakness exists, so it would be interesting to see how he defends this. Okay, this bishop hangs at the moment, but probably if knight comes here, white will be all right. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, it's an interesting position because white is up a pawn, but it feels like black definitely has some counterplay. Because, like you mentioned, that h2 pawn it's a bit of a weakness, and you always have to guard it with two pieces, so that knight's a bit passive. So I mean, Torfi might be slightly better, but I think Nathan can still put some pressure here.
Yeah, and another interesting thing to watch is like Toffee has played it like considerably fast. Like he has got an hour and 23 minutes to 43 minutes for Nathan. So that's quite impressive. Like because it's Nathan who has sacrificed a pawn and played an interesting gambit, or let's say an interesting line. But looks like the Toffee was well prepared in this. Okay, it's trying to put some pressure here. But as long as the bishop is going to be here, I think nothing is going to work out there. So he's trying to eliminate the bishop, and here, yeah, probably now d5 was necessary. Maybe it's not necessary at all. But in general, I would like to keep these guys. But he just
Mhm.
went for a pawn, and now the knight feels bit. Probably it's better to do this like exchange or something. And he goes 24. c6, some check is coming. King c7, and we have got rook e4 on the board. So
Wow.
what he wants for bishop f1?
Yeah, this is confusing.
Like I would have never done this. Like just give the rook. I mean, it's fine. Or you can just play c4. I mean, there's no rook e8.
Yeah, it seems after rook e5, you only lose more material because I don't know. Like after bishop takes up one, I mean, I assume you take back, but then they can also take your rook on e5. So, hmm.
Yeah, even anything, any move, like even let's say a4 would have been better here and just give the rook. But he preferred rook e5. Okay, of course, if he captures like this, it's great. You can play queen e5, and again you have this got this. But now after bishop f1, which is being played now, I don't see any sacrifice or any attack going there. So probably king f1 because bishop f1 is just mate. So as rook f1, so king f1, let's say queen h2. And now how do you defend this?
Yeah, this is very difficult. Black definitely winning now.
And it's mate in one. So, and if you give up material, then okay, anyway, you're going to lose.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you can't even go king e2. You just hang a bishop. So
Yeah,
this is
that
tough.
was surprisingly blunt. I mean, huge blunder probably.
I wonder if we can check how quickly he played that move.
Yeah, makes sense. So he has got here, let's say, so we had this. 24 was in 1 minute, more or less. So he was pretty sure that he's not going to should be moving the rook. Okay, he's attacking the pawn, so c6, and he played this also quite instantly. And after this, he thought for like
Okay.
22 minutes
Mhm.
and played rook e5.
Yeah. So he did spend his time on that move.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know what he missed. Like, it's very obvious that black is going to take one f1. Only move is you must take back. And after this, there's just nothing there. And now he's thinking again. Is he trying some rook f5 here or
Yeah, I don't know what you can do here for white. I think you're pretty much on your way out.
yeah, this is just game over probably. The king would have been on b8, some chance with the rook f5, 26 lines, but here I think it's just game over. Or the least, or the probably what you can do the best is something like rook e3, but that also hangs a lot of things. Like you can just take on e3, and now if, there's no bishop e3, you must take with the rook, and even there's a bishop takes g3 coming in. And okay, just one check and nothing much. So I think black is completely winning. There's nothing much can't be done here. It was a very good game played by Toffee, but suddenly he just allowed this bishop coming in, and it was all problem. It was all good till here. He could have just continued c4, d5, c5, whatever he would have liked. Like everything was perfect till this point. There's no threat, I believe. We have simply knight g3, h g3, and yeah, nothing.
Maybe he just
Even bishop g3 is absolutely fine because rook f1 we can just take with the bishop. S2 is defended. Even the queen g3 comes to defend s2. So yeah, no problem at all. Just c4, c5 or d5 like this.
he must have
Instead he went queen e4 and yeah, inviting trouble. We have a result. So Connor was playing against Matthew, and this game had just ended in a draw, which is a bit surprising to me. White has got two bishops and some nice pass pawns with d5 isolated pawn. Let's see from the beginning to understand this French. Master Mike, do you play French?
I do, but I'm currently trying to get away with it because I get so many bad positions.
Yeah, so that's gonna happen in French. But looks like here it was an open game with c5 coming in, takes, and probably they played d takes c here if I'm not wrong. Yes, we need to. Okay, white is just trying to exchange queens if possible here. Bishop e6, knight b3. Okay, knight d4 sounds good, and knight f5. Bit okay, fine, because you want the bishop to go back. Not really. It's surprising. Like here, he has option of this. He goes king e7, and more importantly, white does not capture it here. Maybe it will. If they have just transpose queen e7, king e7, bishop f5, knight c6. I think here black must play something like this and try to get rid of the bishop to equalize it completely.
Mhm.
And for moves like bishop g5, there is, I believe, h6. So that was necessary because once the c3 comes in, I think white will be clearly better.
Yeah.
And yeah, so black does the artificial castling, probably knight e4, bishop e3. Maybe black can start with bishop c5, and that would be annoying. But in the game, we see knight e4, bishop e3, and h6 was played. So probably this is good for white. But if black plays bishop c5, I don't know how did it react here.
Yeah, if we could go back a move, I'm kind of wondering why he played c3. Because now, I mean, I feel like white wants to castle. So if instead of c3, what if he just castles?
Maybe he realized that there's a g6. But in this line now, even bishop g5, I mean, g6 up, we just go back. And now this could be a problem because we don't have h6 and rook e1 check is coming.
Yeah.
So maybe he would have done that.
Hmm.
But maybe he never wanted to castle, just like Matthew didn't castle.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's personal preference, but if I was Connor, I think I would have castled instead of played c3, just because I want my king a bit safer. I know the queens are off, but I still feel like the king is a bit awkward on d1.
Absolutely. I mean, you can just put it like, let's say, long castle or short castle and or whatever. Like you just make double on the d file, and this is a juicy pawn there.
Yeah.
But then we see some mistakes from both sides here. No, bishop c5 first. Black plays 94. That allows corner to go bishop e3, and then he anyway blunders it on the next move. First rook e1 would have been correct, and then you go king c2, so that knight f2 is not happening. But then he blunders the pawn. Then he goes rook e1, but now you're not up a pawn. Knight e4, rook d1 sounds good. Knight d4 is also fine. He goes after the second pawn. That's crazy. Takes, and b4. So white is down 2 pawns here, but still with the hopes because he has got 2 bishops.
Mhm.
Probably something like knight e4 would have been stronger. Just trying to exchange pieces. Takes, and king b3 now threatening to win a pawn. So he defends it. Bishop d4. G6 I don't like. It's a tough position, but it's a tough position, but you need to go rook e2 or something. Black needs to go active and then try to get some kind of knight e4. And if you create weakness, then the bishops are going to harm you. Bishop h3, and uh, but the problem is bishop d7 is coming, and I don't like. That's why I don't like this g6 because it's completely unnecessary. You just try to go here and try to cook up something with knight d2, knight c4, and probably black was winning. But after g6, yeah, there are some holes in the position now. Still, this is not easy. Bishop d7 is coming. You go knight h5, bishop d7 comes in, and the corner makes a comeback in this game. Bishop takes e6, rook e6. He goes bishop d7, rook e7. Oh wow, they just made a repetition here. I would have gone b5 because black is not just taking his chances.
Yeah. What would you estimate the evaluation at here? Would you say it's about equal or?
Maybe black is slightly better if you see machine-wise. But the way black is playing, for sure, I believe black will lose after b5 because last few moves, I have not seen black giving any threat, just playing passively and don't know what to do, just move some pawn randomly. The bishops were I would not say badly placed, they were just randomly placed somewhere. But now I see they're to the point, both of them are attacking. And pretty good for white. Maybe black is not even winning here, but sometimes
Yeah,
machines find something, and
that's a really good point you made about sometimes you have to think about obviously your opponent's mindset because even though the position might objectively be maybe slightly favorable for black potentially, you have
Mhm.
to if they're playing it with inaccurately, not the best moves, not with a lot of confidence, then Connor can maybe take advantage of that. So that's a good point.
Yeah. And yesterday, Magnus pointed a really nice point in his interview, the post-game interview.
Mm,
He talked about a lot of things, praised Gukesh as well. But the one thing he told about him was that he was taking his chances, and this was missing. Like whenever whoever was playing Magnus, they were happy to make draw or just get away with it. Or some of them even from, let's say, world, I wouldn't say one world top 10, but let's say about 20 players, they were okay with losing to Magnus because the way he plays, and they were not really taking their chances at times. But if you see these young kids, whether it's Alireza, Nodrupek, Mukesh, Arjun, these guys are able to beat Magnus at times here and there because they are taking their chances, and that's really important.
hmm
So whenever you get a position, or whenever, irrespective of you're playing with white or black, so whenever you get chance, you should go for it. For example, this position, and it's really important because you can see that black is not trying to create a pass pawn. Black had active pieces, but then the bishop went back. The knight was stable here. Now it is also stable here, but then it blocks the pawns. It opens the diagonal for the bishop. This makes life for this rook difficult that he cannot go anywhere now because it will be a checkmate, post checkmate more or less. If you move the knight, then the d5 hangs, and if you do nothing, then white is simply just gonna push this pawn forward.
hmm
So I think practically very, very easy play for white here. And also if you see time advantage, he has got 30 minutes extra. So I think Connor had all the reasons to continue this game, uh, because I don't see black making a draw the way black was playing this.
hmm
Okay, let's go to some other game. We have Andrews winning against 80 in 20 moves.
Wow.
It was another French. So maybe you take this game forward.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can see why Eddie lost if he played the French.
Yeah.
I usually don't see it played this way though. I mean, knight f3, it transposes, but knight c3 is a little weird. I mean, you can probably just go d4 here and feel like black's already a little better.
Yeah, and something like c5, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And this sounds pretty good. Knight c6 coming next with e5 if needed. But instead, knight f6 was played by Eddie, and this allows e5. So when this happens, like this three knights comes in, we call it like three knights variation in Caro-Kann. Do we have some name for this in French, or it's just two knights?
I don't know a name for it. It's kind of reminding me of a Tarash, except we're not like they'll probably go, yeah, they'll go there and then d4, c5, but we can't put a pawn on c3 for white. So I kind of like this for black.
Okay. So bishop g5, okay, sounds good. Attacks the queen. And the typical idea is to go 22, but here he just goes d takes c5, knight b5 probably next. If he gets a chance with queen b2, bishop c5, queen to g2, knight a4 is being threatened. And
Wow.
he captures on f2 going for this b2 attack.
Actually, haven't seen that tactic before. That's interesting, though.
Yeah, it has been played by some grandmasters and international masters in the past. And the king d2 looks like the winning move here. Queen a1 and bishop b5. And he
Actually,
was
I
like,
take that back.
wow.
Hortolosa has played this very, maybe not this exact line, but a very similar line against me. I remember losing to him in a game like this where he sacrificed both his rooks,
And
and
it just made.
he has that. Yes, he has this insane prep. It was very frustrating, but he's obviously down a boatload of material. But his attack is so fierce that it's actually pretty much all prep. And I walked into some nasty prep and went on to lose. But Eddie has to be careful here, which maybe he wasn't.
And you can see that Andreas had like 1 hour 32 minutes on the clock, and he was just blitzing it out, everything like this is a blunder. Well, I think probably the only thing you can do here is probably take on g5, but then at g5 is there. Because of course, you will not blunder this as queen comes back, and you remain like materially up. But how much winning is this? Like queen g5, knight g5, and can you play knight c6 on knight a6 and hope to survive, or it's just not gonna happen?
I think here I think here you can. Yeah, I think that's the key. You have to take the bishop on g5, like you pointed out. If you don't do that, you probably just lose.
But how do you defend this knight d4, knight f7, knight d6 coming in? Like it still looks losing, but probably this is the best chance.
Yeah,
Bishop out.
maybe it is still losing. I mean, it's so tough because even though you're down a boatload of material, all your pieces are just stuck as black.
So he goes f6 trying to run away with the king.
This is what I did. Yeah.
E f6, and then now again queen e7 is made, so you must capture this. And now he captures. Okay, okay, so fine. Knight g5, but now he loses the e6. Come on, that's even more terrible. You also lose the ch. Ah, this must be very very frustrating for AD.
Me and Eddie
Poor
will
guy.
have to next time I see him, which I usually see him on weekend tournaments. I'll have to convene with him and we'll have to prepare something so this never happens again.
Yeah, so guys, we learn a trap today, or we learn a new prep today. So this is a blunder. Never take bishop f2 like this, because you might think that you are winning so much here with double attack, but there's a huge point. He just goes king d2. Now you're forced to take the rook. Otherwise, you remain a piece down. And the bishop b5 comes in. You can play queen b2, but then again queen c5 is there. So it's better to take the rook instead of just losing it. So queen takes queen c5, and now this is unstoppable. Either you have to play f6. We already saw what happens in f6. Simply capture, capture, capture is coming. Queen g2 check king here, and probably this would have kept the game going for another 10-15 moves. But Eri thought, let's not give queen. But then he again changed his mind. He took a lot of time. He had 44 minutes here. He spent 20 minutes to play f6, and then again 15 minutes to sacrifice his queen. Must be tough decision, but maybe he would have done it here to lose respectfully.
Yeah, from what I remember, and Hortolosa was trying to tell me something after the game, after I lost him in this line. I don't remember exactly what he said, but basically, yeah, you have to take that bishop with the queen, like what happened. And if you don't, you just lose on the spot. And if you do, I think it technically is a draw, but black is under so much pressure that they're often just blundered anyways, is what I think happens.
Yeah, I believe as long as black cannot castle, black is in huge trouble here. Maybe knight c6 is the move because at least this keeps things under control. You're threatening something here. You cannot go like this immediately. Maybe you have to capture, and no capture to b8. At least this looks like a playable thing to me. Might be
Yeah.
losing. Okay, but then you can at least you can threatening to castle here. So you are white is having some threat. So let's say queen d6, and let's say if you are lucky enough to get at 6 and not any and not any problems like this, I believe maybe rook b6 is there, and after queen c7 you castle again. Yeah, so this looks completely playable, and probably the correct move is knight c6 here. I don't know the eval, but for sure black is not losing immediately.
Hmm.
Maybe queen d6 is there. Again, trying to do something like this. All right, we'll keep it to 80 to figure out whether it should be going for queen b2 again or fighting with queen g5.
Hmm.
So we have got a game between Kevin Landman playing against Daryl Bimberg. It was a queen pawn game or the queen's gambit, and we are heading to the Carlsbad structure.
And just a shout out to Daryl. He is a rapidly improving player. I think last I checked, I believe he's in the 1300s now. He was, I think, even just probably 6 months to a year ago, I'm pretty sure in the 800s. So he's gained a lot of points playing these Thursday nighters. So even though he's lower rated than Kevin Landman, and Kevin Landman's a strong player, you'll have to be careful because Daryl is up and coming.
Yeah, and here he blunders a pawn. Usually c6 is typical idea in this kind of structures, but then he drops a pawn here with queen h5 coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And as you spotted, Kevin spotted it, queen h5, and he loses a pawn. And this is more or less very, very bad because the rook c1 comes in. Okay, or you can just play knight f3. And even for moves like this, you have got bishop e4 like most. I mean, of course, you can come back, but I'm just telling the best possible ideas which you can. And here it's very difficult to prevent this in f6. Especially this works well in the rook c1 line, I believe, because then you have got multiple threats.
Yeah, this is a great example of learning from your mistakes. As sad as this is for Daryl, at least now that this happened, he probably won't blunder it again.
Yeah, and even one interesting line here would be like bishop e4, you're threatening like this. And if you play bishop e7, of course, you know that you can give a fork, but even for c6, you can play rook c1 if you like. Like, of course, you can come back and it's absolutely fine. But even, and then you, once he comes here, then you go back. Even makes it worse. And this was played in the game. And now black has some, okay, not much, but some drawing chances, I would say, because of double pawns and upper color bishop in nature, maybe some c5 ideas. But he goes c6, creating another weakness for himself. This might be one losing just option 94, and I don't see a way how he's going to defend that pawn.
Yeah, that doesn't look good.
Or even you can start with rook c2 first. But he goes 94, which makes more sense, I believe. Straightforward to the point. Prevents nb4, okay. And he finds a way to keep the bishop activated and defend this pawn with knight. But I think this is kind of an artificial thing, and even something like this could be an option.
Hmm.
He goes b4, preventing any c5 in future. Attacks the rook and goes b5. So of course for the rook c7 the idea was b5, but I'm not so happy with this b5. I know that he's getting rook to c7, but I think the simpler could have been something like this because there is no c5 coming here. You've got knight or there, maybe a f5 is there, and that is why he went bishop basic b5 and rook c7. Maybe knight b5 was more precise.
Hmm.
And now these pawns are feeling a little bit unsecured.
Mm-hmm. Do you have to be like passive and play? Yeah, knight d1 is what I was thinking. And now you're kind of threatening rook c to c7.
Yes. Bishop g5 just f4 is there, so nothing to worry about much. Or maybe rook e8 is possible someday. He goes bishop g5, and okay, I believe he should have just gone f4. And after bishop h6, rook c7, as you spotted. Maybe he has got rook a8 there, and but you can still win a pawn.
Mm-hmm.
This would be frustrating. Losing a or blundering a piece like this.
Ah, that's a good tactic. Yeah, yeah.
And suddenly
So,
black wins after that. So maybe king f2 is just good enough, or bishop b5, and now you're threatening this, so he must capture. You may give a check or just capture, and I believe this is more or less winning for white, as this cannot be attacked further. There's the king f2 as well. Rook c8 is possible, and some counterplay or something for black to hope for a draw or something.
yeah.
Probably that's why he just went rook c3, not giving any access to come inside. The problem was if he goes king into there's a knight d4 check. Hence he went king to g2, and again probably bishop g5, and then f4 was planned. But he founds bishop e1, putting some pressure on the rook, making rook go to the bad square as e3 hangs.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes rook c7 and threatening e4 here. So there's a serious threat, I believe.
Yeah, it's just starting to get very scary for Daryl.
I think now this is the last. I think this is the moment to play rook 8 or rook e3. Rook e3 would lose anyway, so rook 8.
Yeah, probably an only move.
Yeah. And this is the live position, guys. Here Kevin is thinking with 34 minutes on the clock, and Daryl has got 23 minutes to survive.
Hmm. What would you put Daryl's chances at of saving this?
So here I spotted a simple idea that after bishop b5, he's lucky enough to have rook takes rook, and he must capture and up. And this is attack, but there's a check here, and
Mm-hmm.
the king cannot come here, which means he has to go to the sad square, which is h3 or h1, and then he'll just move the rook. And it looks pretty even to me, this end game, if this happens. So what I could say is there is no bishop b5, but he plays bishop b5. Maybe there was no other move because there's just no way to defend this pawn. If you play e4, then he captures, of course, and takes on d4. And then also you cannot take on b5. So that's a bit annoying. Maybe he would have tried king to f1 and some kind of a knight e3 king e1 like most. It's not the normal way, but you need to defend this pawn here. After king f1, I believe bishop d2. And if some tactics works out here, I mean bishop takes b5, rook a7, rook a7, and knight e3, king e2. This is what I was talking about. You need to work out something like this, where you attack the weaknesses. And if
Yeah.
you win a pawn like this, uh, you win because the rook has nearly no good square. Rook a6, we have got bishop c4 coming in. And now the rook is forced to go somewhere. Maybe rook there is still possible, but then you have got some time. You get some time to defend this. You get some time to play moves like bishop d7, and you can simply eliminate it. Even if there is a this, you can give a check, a forcing go corner. Then you capture this. You have got king e2 there. And if you capture like this, there's a king e2, and okay, this is easy win. You have got rook c7 next, or just even captured. So something
Yeah.
like this was needed.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like Kevin missed his chance there. Daryl could very well hold this now.
And if this is not happening, then I believe Daryl has very good chances, nearly 40-50% chance to make this game draw. Because finding this was important, forcing him to go h4. And again, you have to cook something like this. So when there, I think bishop b5 is there, and knight e3 again. You have got king e2, and again the knight would be hanging instead of the bishop this the previous time. But he goes bishop b5, and I believe now takes take knight e3, and um, it's heading towards a draw. This is extra pawn, but it's a full color bishop with lots of weaknesses, no connected pawns. So most likely a draw if black doesn't blunder. This is more or less forced, I believe, or he can play this. Okay, only thing he can cook up here is probably d5 idea. And if this works out, he will win. And knight e3 wins, yeah. So knight d5 is not coming. Bishop c4 and f4 is not a mate, I believe. There's a square, and the knight hangs. So I believe there's still some chance with d5, and now the thing is rook e5, you just capture, or maybe even just go d6. It's just straightforward, But okay, you can capture, in my opinion, d3, rook e3, and d6. And if this pawn is winning, then you have got chance. But I believe there's a rook f3 check, and king g2 is bad because he goes back, and bishop h4. So you need to try king g4 here. And things are not clear because the d7 is coming next. Rook f8, d7, and you don't have. Maybe it's still fine somehow. You have got simply bishop c3 and bishop f6 coming. And white is not in time to somehow exchange things. But there's one interesting idea. Like you give a check, force him go corner, and then you go bishop f7. And bishop d8, you just put bishop e8. This could be an interesting way to take this game forward.
That's a
And this is,
crazy line, yeah.
yeah. But we are far away from this, and we have got this position at the board first. Daryl needs to decide that he's going to take this or not. If he don't take this anyway, he's going to lose. So I believe he should be taking on e3.
And I think you'll find that it'll just be whether or not Kevin can find those ideas that you mentioned. Because if he can, he'll probably win the game. But it's not the easiest to find those tactics. Well, let's see. Dale has 20 minutes. Kevin has 33. So somewhat close on time. Kevin's obviously the one playing for the win because he's just up 2 pawns currently. And he just has a 13-minute time edge. But if Dale spots knight takes e3 and Kevin can't find those tactics, I think Daryl has decent chances to draw this. Because like you mentioned, they go into that other line. It's just, white's only up a pawn, opposite colored bishops. So we'll see what happens in this one.
I think he'll play this. And I think king h1 is even bad, or king g1. So king h3 makes more sense to me somehow. Rook to e6. So we're talking about d5 here. So I mean the moves are not that difficult if you just play move by move. Like you figure out that okay, this is something which you can cook up. And again, the rook has only one square. You can again figure out that this is easy. So rook e5. And now let's say we just simply capture, and try to push your only hope.
Yeah, that's not too difficult. You're right, yeah.
Yeah. So it's again like not a difficult choice to make. As long as you're not blundering this, I believe. Or maybe this could be an improvement to the previous line. Or it could be a blunder. So my point is, I want to play h5, and after king goes to h3, I want to give a check, forcing him to go down, and then I want to go rook f8. Or maybe even I can improve it further. Rook f2, and the whole point is I want you to go to g1, so that I can say that okay, I improved something. And now I just want to go here, so you can give a check. I go there. You go bishop f7, but now we get some new. Okay, but luckily there's a rook g8.
So maybe they have to h1. Or does that?
Or I'll be surprised if king h1 is the best move here.
Oh, not there, but back a couple moves when they instead of king g1, maybe if they play king h1, or does that blunder something? Yeah, right there.
Yeah, this sounds even better. But I know that there's no rook d2 because it's a check. So you must go back with the rook, and yeah, now this wins in more fashionable way. So I think the improvement is not really improvement, but helps white. So no need to push once. Just go down. And yeah, d7, bishop gets there, check, king goes there, bishop f7, bishop f6, and bishop e8.
Very pretty.
And now, I don't know, you cannot try to play like this because otherwise this is coming. You can try bishop d8, but the rook 8 is a tempo. So only chance for black is if he gets this pawn and he sacrifices the bishop for this, he could draw maybe some chance because
Yeah.
it's not that easy to win this.
Hmm.
So I believe this is over as there is. I mean, he can play b5 maybe, but even if white just goes and captures these pawns, it's gonna be enough for maybe. But now he has got rook f2 like ideas, and so maybe the best idea is to just win up, make a queen. So say king g7, d8 queen, he captures, you capture back, and he's one more away or one more shot. Again, this would be a blunder. So rook c8 or rook a8 is the only move.
Oh wow, he just got a move. He played instead of knight takes e3, he played rook f8.
I don't think this is going to be any more interesting game because there's 3 pawns connected together. Again, bishop c4, king h8 would be sad to see. The king is just coming like this.
Hmm.
I think it's game over more or less.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he probably saw knight takes e. He might have seen the knight takes e3 tactic. Um, I'm wondering if he didn't play it because he saw that whole line and he got scared. But just before actually, just before he played rook f8, I was calculating myself. I wonder if, considering that, like you calculated, that knight takes e3 line does still work for white. I wonder if rook d8 would have been at all playable for black. Um,
The
and
problem is here, just the king is coming to e2 and defends everything.
true, that does. Yeah, I didn't see that. I was thinking bishop d7, but yeah, king f1's nice. Hmm.
And even as you said, this is also perfect because you're trying to eliminate the attacker, or you go bishop d3, or I like this way more because you just force the king to the corner and then okay, try to be more active.
Yeah, well, hmm.
So just I think just winning forward. We have got one more game, live game going on, so maybe let's stick to it. And once the live games finishes, we'll move to the recap of the other games.
Mhm.
So that this game was quite interesting, and we left it around here. Saying queen s2 and black is winning. So it took on f5, rook f5, queen g6, very, very bold, but how does he defend this? Or how, wait a sec, can he just play rook f2 here? Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
He would have
you'll bet the piece, right?
just take here.
Oh, or that. Yeah, yeah.
Queen g3, rook. Oh, sorry, my bad, it's a check.
Oh, it's a check.
Sorry. So okay, rook f8 here, and it still wins because you win the g2 bishop.
Yeah.
So he could have simply taken on f2, but he goes rook f8, which is also winning. Uh, and now this check doesn't work because it's a pin at the end of the day. So bishop g3, he gives a check, and he finds a way to survive for a moment. Wow, what a skip.
Yeah, that Nathan definitely misplayed that. I wonder if instead of moving the king to d8, could he have played b6? I don't know if he was worried about d5 check, but I don't think he had to. You just take the bishop.
Absolutely. I mean, oh, sorry. Well, I mean, there was just no need to go into this and play another game. I mean, of course, black is winning here, but it's gonna require some technique, and you're not gonna win in the end game unless you have some fast pawn here. So it's gonna take some time. But here, if you would have just played King to b6. Oh, there's a rook b7 coming in. Oops. The bishops are nasty. Just getting checkmated over there. Maybe king c. Okay, so he had no chance. Like, he was forced to go here. But maybe. Can you do something like king d7, but then you got rook f8? Yeah, this also works, right? There's a queen e6, though. Looks scary to me. Rook c6 is again. Oh, sorry, no. It's c8 and queen f5. So yeah, here he had no chance. But there was just no need to, start with rook f8 because, as they say, always start with checks in puzzles. So
Yeah.
check capture threats. So why you are giving a threat when you have got check and a capture coming, directly?
Hmm.
And there is no difference after rook f8. Just the bishop hangs. You have to go king e3, queen takes g2, and this is just winning, I believe.
Yeah, that's gotta be. You're up a piece for 2 pawns.
That would have probably forced resignation, but Toffee tried his luck. He took on j6 confidently with 40 minutes on the clock. And Nathan be like with 29 minutes, he's like, rook f2, and okay, how are you going to defend this? Rook e2, how got this move? And completely missing rook e7 check. And then he realized that, oh no, I cannot go up. There's a rook b7 check coming in. He
Oh,
has
rook
to go
b7.
here.
I did miss that. Yeah, but I still feel like that shouldn't be too. I feel like at very least you can run your king all the way to the queen, back to the queen side. I don't know.
You want to try king f5? But then I thought
Uh,
these are people.
maybe I'm running into mate, but what if you just take the rook? Oh, wait, no, take the rook leads to mate. Okay.
That's
Yeah,
legitimate.
yeah. I guess this is tricky.
Yeah, there's just no way to escape this. I mean, there's only one way to win this, and that is just start with check, capture, and I mean, just check, and you just capture the material.
Yeah. It just goes to show that chess is very cruel. Even in a position that looks completely dominating, you always have to be on your guard. That's just chess.
Yeah, you need to be alert throughout. And that's a live position, but Nathan having 12 minutes. I don't think he's winning here. There's a queen b8 check, so probably he has to change queens now. But maybe he can just play king g1 and say, but then there's a check, bishop f1. Yeah, makes sense. But then he can go king c8. Ah, he goes queen g2.
Hmm.
Okay, he just confident that he can make a draw in the end game.
I don't know how good of an idea this is, but if I'm Nathan, I feel like I want to bring my rook up a bit closer so I can threaten skewer ideas. Like maybe like eventually play like rook h5 or rook h6, probably rook h5 so I can threaten like rook g5 stuff when it's my turn.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Obviously, yeah, obviously not right now, but maybe because like right now the pawns white's pawn chain on b2 c3 d4 is kind of blocking our rook from queen from kind of being as effective as they could. But if we move our rook up, then then the black rook and queen can kind of team up a bit more to create skewer problems.
I'll just go queen c1, not allowing the queen to move anywhere. There's no check. And then I'll try to improve my rook somehow. And here it's really difficult for white to make an even move because the bishop cannot move. It's illegal. The king is zigzagging, and the queen has no really good square because it has to defend the pawn. Maybe queen f2 is possible with some ideas like this, but then maybe I can just play. Well, I cannot play rook e8 because then again check and again check is coming. So king c7, let's say,
Hmm.
and this is the time you can run finally.
Yeah.
Or just play a6 and hide there, make some shelter for your king, and then you get the rook into the game.
What do you think of a queen trade? We have a viewer in chat, a national master in chat suggesting a queen trade, and he seems to think that'd be pretty would simplify matters to black's favor.
I think, yeah, it will simplify, but also will go to very close to the draw because I don't see how black is going to create a pass pawn. You're just entering inside. We have got king to f3 coming next, or simply king to f2, not allowing the rook to enter. You can maybe cut off the king, but then white has got a solution for that. king here, bishop f3, king d6. And even if we just capture here, it's gonna be drawn.
Yeah, it's not so simple.
So I think if you are trading queens, you are just giving white a license to draw the game by theoretical draw, I believe. Machines might show some advantage, but I don't see a pass pawn getting created, so I would call it a draw.
Hmm. And Nate only has 10 minutes left, so it's getting more and more exciting.
Yes. Let's have a look at the game. Let's see what Kevin has found. He's playing king f1, king e2. This looks good. Let's review a game between Robert and Tim until then. Sorry, Tim and Robert. So Robert plays Benoni this week after playing a fantastic game last Thursday.
Hmm.
And f5, crazy stuff. And I'm just waiting for white to go e4 at some point, even here or any time any time. But bishop g5 is also very pretty nice. And Robert goes 94. He's like, no e4 for you. My gosh.
Yeah.
He doesn't want pawn. He's like, there's just no way my opponent sacrifice or something. I'm not gonna accept that. He goes
Yeah.
queen b6. Takes. He's happy. He's okay with moving his king on Mutan, but he's not okay with taking a pawn. He has got his preferences all set. Okay, now he simply wants to go knight c6 and something like d6, I believe. I mean, why on earth you go to f7 when you have option to go to f8? Like,
Yeah, I have. Oh, he must have been worried about like queen takes c5
queen
check.
c5. Okay, so fine. And look, he could simply develop pieces, go knight c6, whatever, or play. I mean, play anything, but not take on it. It's too much. And then he finally managed to sacrifice something.
Oh no, this is not good.
I mean, this looks crazy to me. Even queen e5 is coming. Okay, queen e5 would be a very nice blunder. Okay, there's a queen f4 beat. Queen f4 bishop beats you. Wow.
Hmm.
So he goes knight s3 and he's like, okay, take my rook and I'll show you how to checkmate. Oops. Queen h5 attacks the rook, giving no time. And that's GG.
Yeah, they'll play h6, then you can sack. Yeah.
He goes bishop f5 and wait, I mean, we have just won with knight f7, rook f7 to b8. But
Hmm.
no, he plays queen f7 because Tim wanted to strike with queen g8. And Robert be like, okay, you take my rook, but don't win in fashion.
And Robert's known to play very crazy stuff, so he did get punished, as he does a lot for playing crazy chess. And playing crazy chess is not the recipe for success against a strong player like Jordan.
Yeah, and you know the best part about this or the worst part about this game is they cooked up everything, all this in like less than 30 minutes for both of them.
Yeah.
Tim played this in like 10 minutes and Roberts spent 16 to 17 minutes. So they really played it fast and the Gender shared this crazy game in just 30 minutes.
Hmm. I wonder. I
Okay,
don't even.
back to the game where Nathan decided to trade off queens as he was getting low on time. Goes king e7, the idea is just to come up. Probably bishop g4 is a better idea, as if you go to f5, then this is also fine, honestly speaking. I don't care much about this. But this gives black some chances as the king enters, and you don't have this as the rook enters. So white needs to be a little careful here. Maybe bishop g4 is the way. And still some problems because there's a rook h2. So maybe it's better to keep the rook on h8 and not try to do much. But okay, let's say I can play a4 at some point. and king f6 a5, or let's say 4 a5, and black does have some chance here, but not so clear. I believe king g3 and just try to. At some point, you have maybe it's fine to go f3 and you go here and just sit like this. But the problem is you drop a pawn, and now
Yeah.
everything depends upon whether you are drawing this or not. Like king e4, rook c3, and d5. So if you're drawing this, you draw this, or otherwise you're just lost. Like you can play c5, and the problem is the king is near, so you have to go like this. Probably it's enough to hold, but sometimes moves like b5 creates problem. But maybe it's enough because the pawn is quite advanced.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a little bit of a bold prediction, and now that the queens are traded, I'm gonna say that if Torfi uses his time well, I think he'll be able to draw this game because, like you pointed out, it's not so simple to win this, especially now that the queens are traded. I agree with you in your verdict that the queens needed to stay on for black to have at least a better chance. So I think if Torfi doesn't like just play too quickly for some reason, I think he could draw this.
Yeah, quite possible. But I think at the same time, Nathan is gonna try. Like he's on the right track. He's making the right plan.
Hmm.
So it would be an interesting endgame to watch. But Toff is going to take some time here to decide between bishop g4 and bishop f5 or some pawn push. So let's jump to the game between Jamie and Michael, where sorry, Michael and Jeremy, which ended in a checkmate for black player here. So c4 e5, it was an English opening, knight f6 g3. Now I'm going to tell you now this bishop b4 line is going to be popularized because in this line yesterday Gukesh beat Magnus with black pieces, and he had like really interesting idea. So knight f3 and just take. Okay, nf3 is not so common. Again, knight d5 is the main line. But Magnus wanted to play this, and they had some dc3, d6, e4, knight to d7, bishop d3, and this was played before by Kamer Vincent somewhere in the first half of this year, and he played knight e7. But yesterday, Gukesh surprised Magnus with knight c5, and on move 6, they had like a novelty. Like he had this novelty prepared, or I don't know. But it was a new move for Magnus, and he did went like this. And then instead of going here, Gukesh just went knight f6, attacking this weakness. And he had some crazy ideas with g6, and he really played a nice game. So I believe this line is going to get popularized in coming days, especially the bishop d4 line. Maybe people will not play this anymore. They'll just go for the main line or something like this. But now this move is gonna deserve more attention because it's being played by the world champion, beating a former world champion.
Yeah, I'm not. This seems like a very, at least the line that you showed with the knight getting to c5 for black. It seems very playable for black. Like I'm not too familiar with that position myself because I don't play the English. Whenever white goes c4, I just play e6 and transpose to a normal Queen's Gambit
This gambit.
declined.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, this opening seems very playable for black. It seems like
Yeah.
they can equalize fairly quickly.
So basically, this move was like started. People started playing this move, especially after the pandemic. I mean, the move was always there, like just like the Rosolimo thing, or just trying to make the pawn stubble. But this move, I think, gained popularity somewhere after the pandemic, when people run engine for so long, they had no time. I mean, so they had all the time, and they figured out that it's better to get rid of this knight and put some pressure right away from the move two. And then this move started getting popularized. Many people started playing. I remember Vishy Anand playing it first, then Adivan, and now Gukesh. I mean, talking about the Indian community, this is how it got developed. And of course, it's being also played by the other top players in the world. But I have seen these people, Vishy, and these people are playing it quite often. And they come from the same place, Chennai. They go to same school, same chess school. They work together at times, and they cooked a lot of things during pandemic. And which we can probably, this was also a part of it, and maybe Gukesh worked more on it and figure out this idea, which helped him to beat Magnus with black pieces. And Magnus was unbeaten yesterday until that game. So quite impressive, I believe. I think.
And if white plays knight d5 here, you probably don't move the bishop. Is that
I'll
correct?
just go bishop e7. It's crazy. I mean,
You go back. Okay.
I don't understand the point of this, but they're just happy giving up this bishop, and they just play like Nimzo or something like that.
Okay.
So there's a d4 here. There's a knight f3 here. There are lots of moves there. Even you can play like queen c2, queen b3 ideas, and you just play a5, and they have developed some theory over the period of our last few years. Anyways, coming to the Jeremy game, bishop c5, bishop g2, castles, e4. Yeah, this is pretty much normal idea these days. People are not going for the traditional e3 knight, e2 d4 ideas or nf3 ideas with rook b1 b4. Just because Magnus plays e4, or I mean, this new engines are saying that just to the center control, people are playing e4, but in reality, you damage the dark squares. And to play like this, you really need a very high positional understanding. Otherwise, this is just a weakness. I remember I did this in the final round of the Vegas tournament. I was up against a famous grandmaster from Iran, Magami, and yeah, I had to make some e4 at some point, and that was the best move. And yeah, later on, everything was going good, and then my opponent only offered me a draw at some point. I was slightly better, but I was not sure of continuing, so I accepted there.
Nice.
And I tied for the best under 24 player there. But
Oh,
this could be an interesting way to put it. But with bishop on c5, I'm not really convinced that e4 is a good idea. I still believe that white should be going e3 or something like that. Okay, f4 is coming next, but black also gets f5. I don't know why he delayed it. He could have just gone f5 directly, because I don't see a point why what you gain with bishop on e6.
yeah, same.
And as I said, like now the white king is gonna be some problems over here. The king is exposed, the rooks are connected, and still there is problem with white's development. And look what he's trying to do. He's trying to exchange pieces. Not really a good idea. Loses the bishop and the main guard of the king. Wow, they play in game out of nowhere. I mean, 95, or okay, maybe some 97 is a problem. Whatever, but you can just put bishop here. Maybe, I don't know. Anything is fine, but not bishop f7, queen f5, and taking on f5. You could even repeat here, I believe, once. It's absolutely fine, but not takes. And going into this, okay, he could have won a pawn here. He's getting rook e2, I understand, but still, like, I would have not gone for that. And the best part is he managed to checkmate in the end game. So, entertaining games. Yeah, last two games were quite entertaining, I would say.
Yeah, and funny enough, like king f3 still would have gotten mated by knight d4.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so it worked out for Jeremy. He probably should have kept pressing, like you said, because he white was just a bit underdeveloped compared to black, but he was slightly better in the end game, and white misplayed it and got checkmated in the middle of the board.
What I would tell to some of this is, I don't know how many good or great moves Jeremy played, but he definitely knew his opponent well. Okay, let's move on. Before we go on to the next game, let's just have a quick look between Kevin and Darrell, which has moved 3 moves forward with nothing impressive for Darrell. Meanwhile, Nathan has... Okay, so he went king g3, bishop g2, and he went d5. This is a risky plan, in my opinion. If you have not gone there, maybe king f5 was better idea, and c5 just play d5. I mean, d5 you need to play c5, otherwise you're not going to win this. You have to keep pawns. If you exchange pawns, then you're playing too safe. And now I don't think it's any chance for black because there's a a4 coming in. This might be an idea, but then there's a c4 as well. And rook e8, we have got king f3, so close to draw, I believe, unless you get to the second rank somehow.
Yeah. I mean, even I think you can even play king f3 because the bishop defends a2.
But then rook h2,
Oh, but then they don't go rook h3. Yeah,
yeah, and b4, the problem is rook h3 check.
it's true. Yeah, yeah.
Funnily, I blended pawn like this in Chicago.
Hmm, hmm.
And okay, it was not like that simple. It was like I had got two pieces and my opponent had a rook. And okay, he has got rook and a pawn probably, and with active rook. And I was doing some crazy calculations, trying to figure out, trying to create a pass pawn, sacrificing pawns on both sides and something like that. And then when intermediate check comes in, and I had to move something, and then the move which was not working, suddenly my pawn was hanging, and I lost the pawn like this. And then I had to
Uh,
offer a draw, and just it was a draw. But here it's just losing because you don't have an extra piece.
yeah.
So after that, I'm very careful about
You learned.
yeah. Because out of nowhere, I never thought I can lose a pawn like this. And I lost a pawn like this in a classical games. So just a month ago. So not again, or at least not immediately again. Okay, let's go forward. Let's move forward and have a look at the game between Noah and Lucas from the open section. And yes, the game's going to be interesting. No more Spanish main lines. Some interesting stuff. Wow. I
I
would
don't.
never guess no like this.
Yeah, I don't know why you even look. What's even the point of that?
It's simple. Black wants to lose. I mean, you cannot explain such moves. I mean,
Yeah,
there was
like
how black can lose a pawn in two moves. Yes, play g5. I remember a funny incident. When this Olympiad was going on, the chess Olympiad in 2022 in Chennai, and we used to do commentary. I used to do commentary for chess best, and at times people don't used to play moves, and there used to be complicated position, and we used to show some self mats. So we simply used to go to the last boards instead of showing the top boards always. To have some funny lines, to witness some funny games, and make sure to tell people that the chess is for everyone and see how people are playing in the Olympiad, how they are just blundering. And we used to even ask the audience to find the fastest self mats because we did we saw a blunder in one game where just one player allowed self mat. I won't name the player, but uh, funny things used to even happen in Olympiad if you see all the boards. But there's
yeah,
always a scope. Even many times I just go to the let's say I'm playing an open event, and instead of just for seeing top 10 to top 20 boards, there's more fun if you see the last 10 boards.
yeah, yeah. It
So
can be fun to watch lower rated games at times.
yeah, and yeah, and that gives you pleasure and makes you feel that how a good chess player you are, no matter how bad you are playing in your own game.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so this is it, guys, and so interesting tactic there. And what? Wow, that's a very nice move. Bishop d7, that's if I'm winning a pawn. Well done, Noah. And he gets 3 pawns for zero compensation for black. Such a nice conversion so far. Wow, what a professional finish. He's not even pushing pawns. He's just like improving pieces. I'm impressed. Well played, Noah. Well played. I think the accuracy of this game for white is definitely above 95, if not more. All right, so guys, let's have a look at the last game from the open section between Mish and how do we pronounce this? Master Mick?
Judson Girton, I believe.
Okay. So d4, knight f6, c4, e6, names range, and finally, oh, sorry, it's going to be Queen's Gambit. My bad. Knight f3, knight d7, something like Cambridge Spring, we call it. It's okay, they just play the main line after that. Usually, you play Queen c2 in such positions, which here Mish wanted to play rook b1, and surprisingly, Black played Queen b6 followed by Queen f5. The idea is now 94, and now it looks like more stronger because now the a2 would be hanging. So and
Hmm.
for bishop d3, 94, bishop e4, and you lose a piece. So wow. So you need to take the pawn now, I believe.
Yeah, this I've had trouble in this opening before because that I remember a while ago in it's kind of a tricky opening because the queen long range is a long range piece, obviously, and that tactic you pointed out, your bishop on g5 can hang because the pawn will attack the knight, which is the defender of the bishop. I remember a few years ago, back when I used to play school chess, I lost a piece that way, and that was very you don't remember your best games, but you remember your blunders, and that was a blunder I remember.
I have one, interesting story to tell you in short that will make you feel better. So, when I made my first GM norm on board 6 or board 7, I saw two strong grandmasters blundering this and losing in 9 moves. So something like knight d3, bishop e4, and let's say knight g5, and dc4 happens. And the grandmaster has to resign. Just like
Wow.
8 or 9 moves. And everyone
Crazy.
was like, whenever we see that two grandma and game ends in 5 minutes or 10 minutes on like top boards, people think that it's a draw. And but then the white king was on e4 and the black king was on d5, and people were just taking out this question. What happened really? And instead of a draw, why there's a 1-0? Oh, sorry, 0-1. And this only happened there. So people do blunder this even after becoming a grandmaster. So it's absolutely fine to blunder this being a kid, because this is how you learn. So in this game, we have got Queen c2, knight g5, knight g5. Okay, here you just lose a pawn and not a piece. Oh wow, he blundered a piece.
Wow.
This is not acceptable. This is a bit too much. Mesh, don't do this. I've not seen anyone blundering Queen g5 with bishop on f1. I mean, if the bishop is on d3, okay, you lose the knight. I understand, but with bishop on f1, if you blunder like this, it's a pity. Takes, bishop at 7. Okay, blunders out everything, and black just wins it. Extra material, 2 pieces. And yeah, what to say? I really don't know what to say. But not really well played by Mish. You need to improve, buddy. You cannot blunder pieces like this in the opening.
It's a dangerous opening.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So first of all, you don't play Queen Rook b1. Just play Queen c2 and play Bishop b2 if you are worried about losing a piece like this.
Hmm.
But if you play this, okay, 94 is never coming and Bishop is never hanging. So just play Queen c2, Bishop d3, guys. It's so simple.
Yeah, Queen a5 is definitely a trick you have to watch out for.
Yeah. And to the black player, only advice I would give is if you want to play Queen f5, just play Queen f5, buddy. There's just no point playing Queen b6 and followed by Queen f5. So that's the only advice I can give to both the players in this game. And let's see how Toffee is doing, because I think we have seen all the games. We have got 2 live games, so let's stick to them. Oh, this looks losing to me. The king has got the position. The rook is attacking the weakness. But how this happened? Like,
Yeah, he made a lot of progress.
look, he pushed a pawn for no reason.
Yeah.
And now you cannot play king f3 as there's rook f3. So you're going to lose this. No good move here for white. Maybe a4, a5 was the best try, but still king e5 and you don't have a square for bishop. When you drop a pawn, the king enters. Now this is gonna hurt because he was very close to draw.
I guess he played b4 just because he didn't know what else to do. He was probably worried that if he moved his king closer, then the rook comes in.
I just play a4 or play anything,
Hmm.
c4. I mean anything. I mean just try to exchange pawns or just try to whatever.
So
But
we probably can't prevent the black king from coming in.
yeah, I mean as long as you're not pushing this b pawn, you're keeping the c pawn safe.
Hmm.
So you have got good drawing chances. And now this looks just very, very bad. The king is getting cornered. Okay, this is going to be 100% win for Nathan here. Coming back to Darrell versus Kevin, which is moving very, very slowly. I don't know why. Bishop h4, king e2, king to h8. Finally played knight c3 so that no checks. And maybe he wanted to play knight c4 at some point. So just going safe there. a4. Because playing king d3 won't give you progress. Like there's a check here. And again, it's a like kind of some burden of player to play e4. Then you drop f3. So first he goes a4, improving the circumstances. And then bishop d5, and then he'll go e4 or something like that. 2.5 minutes for Darrell here, and a very difficult position to survive. So, guys, if you have some questions, I'm reading the chat. This is your time to ask me anything. And I would like to wish a very, very happy Independence Day, guys, the National Day of US today. Welcome back, Master Mike. Knight to a3. And the knight looks trapped, just king d3. And I don't know what's going to happen to this knight, but it's nearing its death. And we have got some updates between Toffee and Nathan. The king went to here, and probably the simplest was just get the rook to here, but then he went king d4, king c3, which is also fine. You just play king c3, but then suddenly there's a c5. Okay, you can always start with rook e8 or something, and even just go like this and capture and try to win like this. But then you need to watch out for c5. So just some small tricks are there. Probably king g3, and you can win with king to c3, and after this you can just chop off these pawns and convert the advantage. So the live position is this. Is not giving any chance of c5.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, Darrell has blundered his knight on his own.
Hmm. Yeah. Let's see here. I think there's going to do a little bit of a shout out here. An announcement I forgot at the beginning. We actually have a big tournament coming up here at the end of the month. It's Catfish Days, and it will, as usual, it will be held in, I believe, Franklin, Minnesota, which is where it's traditionally held. Pulling up the flyer here. Yep, it's there'll be a potluck. It's a 7 round tournament. You have games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I believe there's also like a parade that happens. It's a pretty fun tournament. I've played in it myself, but it's July 25th through the 27th. So please check that out. It's a very fun tournament. I think a lot of people really like it. Um, so please make sure to come to this one. It is at the end of the month, so you'll have to sign up soon before. Looks like after July 15th, there's, um, you know, an extra entry fee you'll have to pay. So make sure you sign up soon. But always a fun tournament to play in. And then, if I'm not mistaken, we have one more. Um, just one more announcement was there's a new tournament on Tuesdays. It's the Tuesday Nighter. It's very similar to Thursdays, except the time control is 60-30, I believe, instead of the 90-30 that we have on Thursday Nighters. And pretty much the same format as Thursdays, 1 round every Tuesday. Depending on the month, you might have 5 rounds. Rounds start at 6:30, and you get a discount if you sign up for both Tuesday and Thursday nighter. So it's pretty exciting that we now have this Tuesday nighter option, because Tuesday was kind of a dormant day at the castle there for a little while. There was no tournament, but now we have the Tuesday nighter. So please also check that tournament out.
Yeah, guys, if you're looking forward for a chess improvement, do sign up for both the events as you get more games to play every week and against the good players. The quality of players at the Minnesota Chess Club is quite good. I witnessed personally.
Yeah, it's a fun club. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and also you'll make some new friends. So also make sure to join the club if you can.
Yeah, yeah. We have this tournament isn't coming up, but we have a castle championship every January to decide who is the castle champion for each year. We even have like a this own I don't even know what to call it, but this own like castle trophy where you get your name on. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice tradition to have.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think this is just the sun is setting for Daril. So just E5 is coming next, and I believe very soon Daril is gonna resign here, or he plays until the checkmate. What's the scenario, Master Mike?
Yeah, I mean, you could maybe even there's no reason to give up that pawn. I mean, yeah, e5 both attacks the
E5.
rook
Yeah.
and protects the pawn. So, and like you said, the knight on a3 is just trapped. So, Kevin should wrap this up pretty soon.
Yeah. Let's go back to the game where trophy. Let's see how Nathan is converting this. So the easiest way is just go and grab the pawn.
Hmm.
So we saw b5. More or less, he was forced to play that side move. And the easiest way could be just grabbing the pawn. But he goes king b4. He's just enjoying his position. He can do whatever he likes. Uh, I don't know what he's gonna do with the rook here. Or maybe he's cooking up the rook g3 line. If he gets this bishop directly, that would be one nice. So maybe king s3, and this is the simple win. But players are taking their time to figure out some ideas. Okay, let's see if we have some question in the chat. Okay.
And did we? I believe we saw the end of the Noah Stewart versus Lucas Alzen game. I think we saw the end of that.
Uh this one, right?
Yep, that yeah, he was just up a lot of pawns. We
Yeah,
probably
he just
conceded.
resigned here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think we
yeah,
saw all the games or covered all the games, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, I was just looking through them. We have covered all of them. believe
Yeah,
the only one we obviously still ongoing is the Nathan Hoover versus Torphy.
sure. So Rook G7 was the last move played here.
Hmm. Well, this was a very topsy-turvy game because Torphy he played the opening quite well, but he always had that H2 weakness, and
Hmm.
Nathan took advantage of it, put pressure on, and he kind of led Torphy to a blunder. Well, I mean, the rookie five move was kind of inexcusable, but Torphy must have just been feeling so much pressure that he he didn't know what else to do, and he thought, oh, I mean, yeah, like you said, I don't know why he played rookie five. Maybe he was somehow hoping to just take the bishop on b5 if black did nothing, but um, yeah, that was kind of the turning point of the game.
Yeah, from completely winning, like he played really well. Toffee really played the opening part well. He got extra pawn. He defended well. He was also doing quite well. Like only thing was he would have just continued with this. Even after this, he was doing well if he just sacrifices the exchange. But then, for out of nowhere, he played rook e5, allowing bishop f1. This was a huge, huge blunder. And after that, black was completely winning. And but then suddenly, out of nowhere, instead of playing rook f2 and rook f8, just finishing
Mhm.
off the game instantly, black also blundered by playing rook f8. Or I would not say he blundered, but he allowed this rook e7 check and missed probably rook b7 check or rook e8 check idea. Or maybe he took this as a granted and simply played this, blundering rook e7. And now white has some game, like simply rook e8 and he captures the rook. Even this should be winning, like capture, and you keep the queens on the board, try to get the king to the safety, and just try to attack the exposed king, and you win this. But instead, they played some, I won't say random moves, but moves without a proper plan, and white managed to escape. And this endgame should be drawn if played correctly. Like one of the plans we were discussing was something like bishop d3 and here and just go e4. But instead, he went for bishop g to d5, which was already a suspicious idea because then c5, and I don't think white is drawing that. But we are now even witnessing a draw in this line as top blunder with b4. So a4 was, I think, the necessary move here. After b4, I believe it was game over as the king comes in and you don't have king f3 as you drop the pawn.
And I just checked the engine on move 45. Even once they did trade those pawns, trade on d5,
Mhm.
apparently the computer still thinks black is winning. So it is, I guess, just because white's king is so far away. Maybe this, I guess this was
I,
just winning the whole time for Nate.
yeah, but it's practically, I think, very, very difficult after a4 because at least I don't see a way in which how the black is winning, or even let's say, even if you get this position, let's say you manage to win these 2 pawns or even 3 pawns, and let's say I get this one. So for sure, by the time I'll be here, and to win this end game, rook, this pawn, and versus king, and I mean just rook and pawn versus a bishop is very, very difficult. One of the most difficult end games of to win that, because I have seen Kermastos going wrong in that, and you need to know the plan. It is like some 15 to 16 uh, moves you have to make by force.
Yeah.
And only if you know that idea that you can play king a4, king b5, and not push a4. If you push the pawn to a4, it's a draw. So that in is also very difficult. So I believe, practically speaking, uh, it's very much close to a draw because only thing you have to do is eliminate this pawn for this three,
Hmm.
and you have got a great chance to make a draw in that endgame because it's a right color bishop, right corner, everything is perfect.
Hmm.
Uh, but if you after before, yeah, it's definitely easier for black to convert. And finally, I believe we have got no move yet, but black to play.
Yeah, I think he must have been missing that idea of just taking on c4 because I think he could have done that quicker.
I think on the DGT board we are witnessing something.
Yeah, that might be happening as well.
Yeah, they're analyzing something or they're discussing something. I don't know.
Yeah, and they are on our camera. That's a good point. Yeah, they're talking. The game must be over.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the game is over with the clock on the black side. Don't tell they agreed to a draw.
No, I would be shocked. I'm trying to tell where the pieces are. But yeah, you're right. The clock, yeah, it's showing it's Torfi's move. He must have resigned. Yeah, he must have resigned. I'm sure Nathan won.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. And we have got dial games remaining.
Hmm. Well, we had an interesting day. We had our featured player Hortalosa with a nice win over Eddie in that French defense where you sacrifice both your rooks for a devastating attack. I feel like today was kind of the day of like maybe I shouldn't not dubious openings, but kind of opening preparation winning the day because we had Portalosa taking down Eddie in this nice French line. We also had um, the trick, the Queen A5, and with the long range idea of playing E5 and picking up the bishop on G5. I'm trying to remember what game that was. That was that Jeremy? No, it wasn't. What game was that?
Probably Germany.
No, it wasn't this one. It was maybe. Oh, it was Judson, I think. Yeah, the Judson game where he had
Yeah.
the same. But yeah, he could have just brought the knight back. But he missed the long range queen.
Yeah. What to
So
say?
kind of yeah, what to say? Long range does it again.
Okay. That's TikTok. So this game was ended in black win, guys. And I don't know what Kevin is thinking. Just go here, take the knight. I mean,
Hmm.
it's so
Yeah.
simple. Like, let's say rook b3. Okay, there's one more bishop c3. We just capture rook c3. No worries. He has to go knight b1. You attack it. He goes there, and that's it. And okay, he might even go rook d8. Okay, you can take it, but bishop b3 wins on the spot. There's no check. Knight c2, nothing. And the knight is hanging over there. But he's not playing this simple move from so long.
I'm wondering if Daryl got promoted. I don't know if anyone on the ground at the castle tonight could let me know, but because normally Daryl, I think, is in the lower section. Like I said,
Mhm.
he's an improving player, but he should usually be in the open section. So I wonder if I mean tonight he's obviously on a DGT board, so he looks like he's might be playing in the Premier, but
Maybe.
maybe we just only had 7 Premier boards tonight. But
Yeah, we have got Eddie and Connor in the background watching their game.
mm. Oh, Chris just said there's often many open boards on DGT. Okay, they are in the open. Okay, because
Okay.
I don't even think that's probably not even allowed. If you I've never played in Thursday Nighter, which is I'm kind of showing my ignorance, but you probably if you lower than 1600, I don't think you can even be permitted to play in the Premier.
Uh-huh. Okay. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Hmm. What's
Sounds
uh what's
yeah.
next for you, Nubair? Do you have any OTB tournaments planned, or are you I know you just played in a couple recently, so
Yeah, I'm planning some more events this summer. So I'll be going to France and I'm likely to play there 2, 3 events
mm,
coming from next week itself. So I'll be flying to Geneva next week. And yeah, this event start from 10th of July.
that's cool. Because you have 3 GM norms, correct?
Yeah.
And you're above 2450 FIDE?
I was 2460 plus. But then I dropped a lot of points last 6 months. So I'm just trying to gain them back.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you're most of the way there, so I'm sure you'll hit GM.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll try my best.
Yeah, like you said, this should just be a mop up job for Kevin. I don't know if and he should play it quickly. Yeah, maybe the DG keyboards could be faulting again. I don't know.
Sorry, can you repeat? Uh,
I was just saying, I wonder if the DGT boards are faulting again because Kevin should mop up this win pretty quickly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And he did play Rook B3, so I think we are very, very much closer to the result here. Probably this is the only move, and probably the game might just end in the way we just discussed this line. So takes knight b1, rook c3. Okay, anytime rook d8, we have got simply bishop b3. And knight a3, we can always play rook c1, rook a1, I mean. So,
Hmm.
how about you, Master Mike? What are you planning next? Are you going to
Uh,
participate in the event which is going to happen in the club next
um.
later this
Oh, you mean like the new Tuesday event?
a Tuesday event as well as the one we just promoted on like the 22nd, 27 July? You said, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Um, I will probably play in that one. Yes, that's a good question. I've kind of been trying to stay away from longer time control tournaments because I think it's not a great habit, but I think I do much better in faster time control. So I've lost a lot of points lately by playing. I was kind of in a downward trend. I got somewhat close to master. I was within 50 points of master, and then I've plummeted all the way down close to 2,000. So I'm kind of a streaky player. But what I found is that when I play faster time controls, um, I I uh I play much better. So I'm kind of avoiding the longer time control tournaments. But I
Mm-hmm.
probably I probably will be at Catfish Days, just because I enjoy it so much. But
All right, sounds good. In the game, we have king c3, and now suddenly the check comes in, and the knight is gonna survive for some more moves. It looks like that, at least for now. So king b2, we might see knight b2 coming in. Again, rook c3 wins on the spot, bishop e6 wins on the spot. Everything wins here. But the game is gonna go for some more moves. Even king d3 is a possibility, but then it could. Okay, so it's one of the ways in which white could blunder this is king d3, knight c2, and you try to play rook c3, thinking that you will exchange the pieces. And suddenly knight b4 check comes in. You are forced to play king d2, and then you lose a piece. And, this might be even losing for black, even after blundering. The pawns are quite strong. The king is far away.
yeah,
But yeah, this is one of the blunders which white could make in this. And we are heading towards it. That would be funny if I blunders this and still wins after this.
that'd be very funny. Yeah.
And that's called the bad luck. So anyone from a club playing in the World Open or the Philly Open, Philadelphia?
Oh, you asked if I'm playing in either one of those tournaments?
Yeah, and if the player from Minnesota club are participating in it, anyone to watch out for?
Yeah, that's a good question. I personally don't think. Well, I won't be playing the Philadelphia Open. Is the World Open? Do you know where that's being held this year?
What? Sorry, what the World Open? What?
Do you know where that's being held this year? What state?
I think the last week of July or June. I think it's the last week of. I mean, they are back to back in the last week of either June or July. So I'm not really sure, but I got some mail. So probably it's in July.
Okay. If it's the last week of July, I probably won't play. I probably wouldn't play either way, but if it's the last week of July, I'll probably be playing at the Catfish tournament.
Right, makes sense. So 91, and no matter whatever white plays, black just want to hang this knight up. He's just going to the corners. But I call it as a first quadrant or the first square. Guys, in the in game, never keep your knights in the first square. You should be keeping your knight at least in this quadrant or towards the center. If you keep your knight like this, far, far away, then your opponent might just troll you by pushing the a pawn.
Hmm. And it's only the first round of the month, but I guess we could look at who the leaders are real quick. We have
Yeah.
so
So
Jordan won.
yeah,
We also have Nathan. So those are probably our two early favorites, just because they're probably the two highest rated players on 1 point. But Connor is someone to always watch out for, even though he's only at half a point. He often
yeah.
wins. He often wins these Thursday nighters. So it's still anyone's tournament. But this month, as advertised in the description for this video, it's only a 4 round,
Four rounds.
4 rounds. So Every game is more important. So Jordan and Nathan are off to hot starts.
Yeah, and I think if Andreas continues his this form of prep, and if he continues to blitz it out like this, I think he could also be a probables or the candidate to for the title of this month.
Hmm.
And in the I think in the open section we have got Jeremy, Noah, and I don't know how to pronounce Judson.
Judson. Yeah, Judson.
Judson.
Yep.
Okay, Judson. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing wrong,
No, it's
but I'll
okay.
get used to it. Yeah.
I struggle to pronounce some of the names when we do player profiles because a lot of these players are players who were before my time, and I don't know how to properly say their name.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I think the game has ended. Where's the game? Oops. Wow. Yeah. So he just resigned after A5, and we also and the Kevin joins the group of the leaders. So I think pretty nice. Only one draw today
Hmm.
between Connor and Matthew, which could also have been ended in White's victory if I would have not repeated and pushed B5.
One last question to you before we end the stream. If you had to pick a game of the day, what would it be?
I'll I'll go with the uh I cannot say this game, but very but yeah, Black finally managed to win a game. So Black kept fighting in this after having or getting outplayed in the opening. So a good comeback here, I would tell. And yes, I learned some new trap here. So yeah, shout out to Andreas for playing a fantastic game or a game without any mistake. So
Hmm.
probably this one.
Yeah, I agree. That's a very pretty game because I believe that game was it like 20 moves? Yeah, 20 moves.
Yeah, sacrificing two rocks, guys. So I'll just repeat once if someone has missed it. Look at its opening trap, don't fall for it. So after this, do not blunder. It's a blunder. You think that you're winning some material here, but no, guys. It's a blunder. Don't do this. King D2 is the move, after which you are forced to capture. Then the bishop B5 comes to the threat of queen C5. So you have no option to capture the rook. And after this, it's just checkmate. You might give a check, win a material, and you can try to survive with this. But again, without queen, the chances of surviving are less. And they just loses. AD trying doing queen sacrifice, but he lost out everything over there
Mhm.
and resigns after this because A5 is so unstoppable.
So yeah, this is very instructive for people because two decent players in myself and Eddie have already fallen victim to Hordalosa's craftiness in the opening. So just warning to all of our viewers, don't fall into this trap. So we hope you learned a lot.
Yeah, guys, it's very important to learn from not only your mistake but other someone's mistakes as well. Keep
Mhm.
learning, keep growing, and wish you all the best, guys. Thank you for watching. See you next week.